Good morning. Well, we're going to try another instrument flight plan in VFR conditions. And this time we're going to go from Watsonville, which is just up the road about 25 miles as the crow flies, maybe 26 miles from where I'm sitting in Monterey. And Watsonville, I think, was somewhat famous for apples. They had apple orchards up there. And I used to know a young lady, Mann. The last name was Mann, and they had Mann apples from Watsonville. I don't know whether they still exist. Okay, so here's our introductory page. We get rid of this for our audio visual, and we click restart because I already flew this. We go continue, and then we'll see Watsonville Airport come up.
Kilo Whiskey
There's
Victor
Watsonville.
India traffic, Daher Alpha Sierra X-Ray Golf Sierra Alpha, taking off runway 27 West departure.
27 West, and I used to, I actually had my first students as a flight instructor over here at Watsonville. So we'll let it go through its little, look at this, it's 148 feet above sea level. And we're ready to fly. They don't actually have a tower there. So we'll click ready to fly. And I need to do some settings. So we'll go inside the aircraft, and it's the instrument goes up to 5,000 feet as our assigned altitude. We'll get it up to 5,000, climb at 2,000 feet a minute. That's vertical speed. And get it down here to 2,000 feet a minute. That's on, and we click navigation, and this is our flight here. We go the runway heading 270. We can click here and bring up the chart. Shows our route of flight, and we'll go ahead out here. We go over toward Santa Cruz right there. Sandy is a intersection, and we go up the Bay Area. Here's probably San Jose International. This is probably Moffett Field. This is Woodside, VOR, and we go on approach to runway 28 right up here. And as we get in closer, you'll see the little intersections, and at each intersection we have a lower altitude, and we finally intercept the glide slope. We'll click approach once we get on the final approach course of 280, and that's that. So let's go back out here. Yeah, we can put it in a little closer so you can see us fly across to Santa Cruz here. All right, that's we'll watch that. We take the brakes off and go outside. Take a little side view here, and we'll let you see the runway here. Full power. Try to stay over the center line. Lift off, put the gear up, turn on the autopilot. Oop. Not supposed to do that. Put up the flaps. I think it's got the autopilot on. We come back on the power, check our power settings that we're not over torquing. Yeah, that wouldn't have been good. let us scrape the ground. All right, so we're off and running. We'll go ahead and bring back in the chart. Watch us flying across to Santa Cruz here as we climb for 6,000 feet. We have to bring the power back. Got a little red light on the panel, was flashing right down here. It says our power settings are a little too high, whether we were over torquing. Again, I didn't fly turbines, jets, or turboprops in my day back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And this is so much fun to see what it would really be like to fly with Garmin. I think these are 3000. This is the 3000 setup. And the autopilot, this time I didn't just fly this route into San Francisco. Again, we're climbing to 5,000 feet, and it just simply you click on your where you depart, your departure, and then you click on approach and your approach settings for which runway you want to land at in San Francisco. I have it for 28 right. There's probably 5 different approaches you could get to 28 right. And I selected one, which is the RNAV, which uses the GPS for navigation rather than the ILS. So we'll just follow along here, right on course. For some reason, out of Monterey, it doesn't show up like this. It used to, but anyway, Microsoft makes little changes, and sometimes the changes work, and sometimes the changes are screwy, are not exactly correct. So let's see, what are we climbing here? We'll go outside, watch, we're coming up over Santa Cruz. There's the harbor right under us. This is called the Crow's Nest. There's a little restaurant right there at the entrance to the harbor. They have all kinds of boats parked there. I don't know the names of the different rivers. And at Santa Cruz, they have a pier going out. They used to have a restaurant right at the end. That fell off into the water a year or two ago. So there's Santa Cruz. Up in here, I think, is UC Santa Cruz, University of California. That could be the campus right there. Don't count on me to know that, because I'm not familiar. So as we come up here on Santee, you'll see our course alter here, and there just switch to the new heading. About 3325 is going to be our heading. We'll see how that comes out. And we are at 5,000 feet. I can bring up the power just a little bit for my full power, so we get up close to 250. We could go back here and look here. We're at 245 knots, which is a little over 250 miles per hour. Under 12,000 feet. The speed limit is 250. I don't know whether it's knots or miles per hour. I can't remember that. And I'm just having fun here on the simulator, so nobody gets hurt if I make mistakes. Working our way up to, let's move it back out again. There we go. Here's San Jose International. We'll point that out. I think the next one up here is Moffett Field, and then we have Palo Alto Airport. So we'll click this off. We got the ID on that. Connection lost. Please ensure you have your active internet. Don't know what that means. Haven't seen that notice before. We come up on a little airport up here. Right along in there. Never been into that airport. There used to be an airport at Santa Cruz. It might have been over here by Boulder Creek. Now we're successfully connected. Don't quite understand. That usually doesn't pop up, but it's not affecting our flight thus far. Clear my throat. And we'll drop down here, see out toward the ocean. So let's just check, see that everything is looking right in here. Yeah, we're looking right, coming up to another intersection here. Everything's looking good. And we'll look back over towards San Jose. Altering our course to our next intersection. Once we get over the hills, or back east we call these mountains, they're probably 2,500 feet. We're 5,000, so. There's San Jose, there's Moffett Field. Don't think that's Moffett Field. Moffett Field's out a little bit. Anyway, we won't worry about that. Moffett was a naval air station, and that's where the blimps would park. They still, I haven't been up 101 for probably 5 years, so I don't know whether they still have the hangars there that they had back in World War II. Huge hangars to house the blimps. Probably right there is Moffett. Yeah, this looks like Moffett right about it there. So we're getting along at 250 knots, which is like, well, let's say it's the speed limit. This looks like Moffett Field right there. I don't see the hangars. And out in here is Palo Alto Airport. And then we'll look back up, start looking up the bay, because we'll be turning up this way to go into San Francisco. So that's the airport. That's Palo Alto Airport right there. There we go. And then the Dumbarton Bridge comes across here, but of course, I shouldn't say of course, for some reason, some of the bridges and causeways go underwater. Okay, now we're turning up the bay, so you can see how our course is altered here to start getting over here to latch on. We'll try approach, see if approach turns on. Yeah, our approach turns on. We're going to descend down to, let's go down to 3,000 feet. 2,000 feet, and our vertical speed down, we'll go down at about 1,500 feet a minute. There's 1,500 feet a minute. Start descending. Go back outside. There's San Carlos Airport, right there. And San Francisco, you now can see the approach strobes for runway 28 left and 28 right. We're going to land on runway 28 right. That's Mount San Bruno in the background. As we're looking around, we'll look over here toward Mount Diablo, going up toward the Delta. There, now we can see the Dumbarton Bridge. And for some reason, the high rise there, where sailboats can go under without having to tell them to raise the drawbridge, is missing. Oh, and over here you got the salt ponds over here, producing, I don't know what kind of salt, table salt, maybe. San Carlos Airport, and we will then want to descend. We've got to bring the power back a little bit. Slow down to what the approach, the airliners usually like to come in at about 150 knots. And what we'll do is we're going to go on down to 1,800 feet. 1,800 feet, vertical speed down. This time we'll go down at about 1,000 feet a minute. And we've got it on approach. And we've got the glide slope. You can see the glide slope is this diamond, if you can see it. It comes down, and when it comes down, it'll turn magenta once it intercepts the glide slope, and that'll take us right down to the runway. Foster City. And we can start slowing down here. So everything is working. Let's see if it's intercepted the glide slope. Not quite yet. That'll turn again. The diamond will turn magenta. When it does, we're leveling off at 1,800, so the glide slope will come down quickly. We'll just zero in on that for the minute. There it goes to magenta, so we've just intercepted the glide slope, and we can slow down a little more. We can put, not quite yet, put our wheels down, not yet. So you see we are tracking, we're coupled to the glide slope, and the final approach course for runway 28, you can see it there. I like to look over to the side here. And we put the gear down. And the airliners, this is about the speed. The airliners, they'd ask us to keep our speed up so they don't have to tell the airlines to slow down, to maintain separation between the approaching aircraft. Kicking a notch of flap. And we'll just take this around a little bit. This is called Coyote Point, and there's a little golf course there that I used to play when I was working in South San Francisco. Job that my dad, one of his buddies in his line of work, found me a job in South San Francisco. And we're tracking down on the glide slope. And we got to get a little bit slower. We'll go ahead and bring in full flap. That'll slow us down. Get it down to about 85. So this is the way it's supposed to work.
500.
I don't know what the connection, why it's coming up with that little sign. But this, I don't know. Yeah, probably the internet works. I got getting a little slow. Got to bring the power up a little bit. Maintain 80 to 85 on approach. On the last the practice flight to see if this would work properly, it didn't do the internet trick. Looks like everything's working properly. And we'll get down here, close to the runway. Now I have to flare it out, so I just came back, brought the power all the way back, hold it off. And the flaps up. And the autopilot off. You wouldn't keep the autopilot off probably at about 1,000 feet, maybe 1,500 feet. You'd turn the autopilot off. We'll get in behind the tail here. And general aviation used to be at the far end of the field. Back when I was flying, it was Butler Aviation. I don't know what they call it now, Millionaire, something like that. But we'll just pretend that general aviation is over here by the big hangar. And again, we're just pretending this is general aviation. If it were, it'd be all kinds of little airplanes and jets that would be parked here. But if I was going to the far end of the field, it would just take too long. Right? And it's boring. I'm trying to keep it as much fun as possible. Don't want to bore people. That's the tower. When I flew the mail in, I used to go up to the tower and drink their coffee. Get in at 11 o'clock at night and then leave at 2 in the morning. I was back in 1968, 1969. I was flying 2,000 pounds of mail 6 nights a week from Arcata, which is up by Eureka, about a 300-mile run, little less than 300 miles. Okay, enough of the chatter. I don't know why they'd have a semi parked out here. It's just interesting. Looking around. Some of it looks very, very real. Some of it doesn't add up. So there you go, and there's the bay out that way. I don't know what this big building is. Looks real. Actually, there was a big building right there when I was flying. Whether it was a hangar, probably a hangar, some sort of hangar. Okay, that's enough of that. Thanks for riding along, and everything worked. Well, we dropped the internet a couple of times. I don't know what that was about. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.